First, we'll go to head coach Jay Johnson. He'll have some opening statements and remarks about our players of the signing class, after which we'll open it up for questions. Jay, whenever you're ready.
Good to see everybody again. Kind of a unique format here with not seeing everybody in the room, but it's good to see you guys on the screen. Quickly about our fall practice, that's been very successful. I have to give a little shout out to our medical team. Trainer Isaac Trujillo has done a great job in keeping us active and on the field and really productive. We have 2 weekends left. We will have our Wild versus Cats next weekend, and we'll wrap up fall baseball at that time. But very excited about the 21 season and the direction this team's headed. What we're here for today is signing day. Very successful class. I think this recruiting year presented a number of challenges, especially here towards the end, where we weren't out to get out and see players, to get a chance to do things we normally do as far as having guys on campus. But I think we navigated that really well. I think our staff deserves a lot of credit. Coach Yeske, Coach Lon, and everybody involved in that. We got a very good foundation early on in the process, which was very helpful, turned out to be very helpful because of the nature of things and what transpired. But we were able to close pretty well in terms of this summer and early this fall to add some really key pieces as well. So it's a group we're really excited about. I think it's incredibly balanced in terms of what we're adding to the team. Right now, it's always difficult to project who's going to be leaving, who's returning, given the nature of things and how things have changed with Major League Baseball. But when you just look at this group, it checks a lot of boxes on the pitching side: left-handed pitching, right-handed pitching, elite arm strength, high-level pitchability, winners on the mound, which is always really important to me. And then on the position player side of it, balance of left-handed, right-handed hitting, good behind the plate, good in the infield, very good in the outfield. Balance of speed, power, solid hitting skills. So I think this group would be able to help us at any time, given the circumstances we're in right now. It was really productive. I feel like these guys will follow up our group that are freshmen and in the program right now incredibly well and give us a bright future. So very excited about them in general. Just kind of going through them individually. I'm just going to go in alphabetical order off this sheet. Beau actually is the most recent guy that we committed and signed with us this morning at College of Southern Nevada, same program that we got Chase Silseth from, who will be a key member of our pitching staff this year. Chris is a really good story, has really developed in this last 6 months tremendously, and will be a very important part of our team next year in 2022. His fastball's been up to 96 miles an hour, throws all his pitches for strikes, highly competitive, highly intelligent, and I don't see a long learning curve for him. He'll be a guy that we expect to impact our pitching staff in 22 immediately, which will be important because I would assume we'll have several pitchers drafted this year in 2021. So very excited about Chris, and like I said, it was a relatively late addition to putting this group together. Next player is Ryan Campos from Red Mountain High School in Mesa. In my opinion, Ryan is the best player in the state of Arizona for the class of 2021. Typical left-handed hitter. You guys know my affinity for left-handed hitters in our program. And, when I went to recruit Ryan, I swear he had like 13 hits in a row over the course of 3 or 4 games and has not slowed down through his high school time. Classic swing, and his versatility is really important. I think he's a great catcher, can also play very well in the infield and athletic enough to play in the outfield. And I think he'll be one of those guys that is in the middle of a lot of offensive rallies in future years, right kind of toughness and makeup and character that will give him a chance to be successful here at Arizona. Next player is Maddie Clark from Damien High School in Southern California. Terrific program. Recruiting Maddie's been awesome. He committed to us, I believe, as a freshman in high school, so like 3 years ago. And so to watch his development into one of the best players in Southern California, very classic, again, Arizona type offensive player. He's fast, he's athletic, strong, can hit with power, solid hitting skills, and a player, like I said, that plays for a really good high school program that will position him well to make a positive contribution here. And very excited to coach him, and seeing his development over the last few years gives me great optimism for where we're headed with Maddie. Chris Cortez, right-handed pitcher from the Las Vegas area, Silverado High School, terrific arm, up to 95, 96 miles an hour, really good athlete, also is like a 6'5", runner in the 60. So I've joked with him after he's done striking people out, we might use him as a pinch runner at times. But very excited about Chris. I think he's just scratching the surface of his potential, and has a chance to be a dominating pitcher for us in our program. Like I said, terrific athlete, terrific arm. Used to be an infielder, and that athleticism is something that we're always looking for. I think working with Coach Yeski, the sky will be the limit for Chris, and certainly a big piece of this group that we're bringing in. Ethan Gorson is the next player, infielder from Point Loma High School in San Diego, left-handed hitter, really athletic, can run, big-time defensive skills in terms of his glove and his arm strength, and a very quick bat. I think he is a player that has unlimited potential. I think another one that when you look at him a year from now, 2 years from now, you all will say, well, we can certainly see why you guys recruited him hard. I think he's one of the best shortstops on the West Coast, and can certainly be athletic and play, really any position on the field, but is definitely an infielder and somebody we're really, really excited to have. I think, when I look at him, I see a long future in baseball if he continues to develop, and I think he's coming to the perfect place to do that. Went out to Illinois to get a left-handed pitcher, Eric Orloff, who we got this summer during the pandemic. A lot of video, watched literally like 3 or 4 appearances in a row, and the thing that really stood out was the ability to fill up the strike zone with all pitches and get hitters off timing, command his fastball to both sides of the plate, does things really, really easy. And when you look at, some of the guys that we've had here that have had success, J.C. Cloney, Cameron Ming, Garrett Irvin currently, he's probably a bigger version of all of those types of guys. And I think he kind of came on the scene a little bit later, and we were certainly excited that he was available and wanted to come west for college. So we're really excited about Eric. Next player is Josh Randall, a unique skill set of right-handed pitcher and a catcher. Josh really has developed in the last year. He's one of the best players in the country. Big time arm strength. I think he's been up to 95, 96 miles an hour, real hard power curveball, really good mound presence, physically strong, which is where the catching piece comes in, has a lot of power in his bat, very unique, and he can impact the game, I think, in a lot of different ways, and has the sustainability to be a two-way player at this level. Reed Shaffer, left-handed pitcher, also from Las Vegas at Desert Oasis High School. Again, a player that we got recently, big-time arm strength for a lefty. I think the best is yet to come for Reed. Has really made a jump again over the last year. And I think there's an exciting thought of him getting here, getting with Coach Yeski, and we're getting him at probably the exact right time in terms of how he's been developed and is developing, and excited to have Reed, as another left-handed pitcher. David Shackleford from La Habra High School in Southern California, another player we've had committed for a while. I keep kind of using the term, Arizona player, Arizona hitter. I think David fits into that as well. He's a guy that performs, has been an all-league player very early on in his high school career. can play multiple positions. Outfield is experimenting with playing in the infield a little bit as well. But a guy that will put a lot of pressure on the defense in terms of hitting skills, speed, some developing power, and really intelligent. A guy that's going to take all the things development-wise that we're going to want to do with him and turn himself into a really good player. Tommy Splain from Los Gatos High School up in the Bay Area, very unique. Also a pitcher, hitter, two-way player, has been behind the plate, can also play on the corner infield. One of the best changeups, high school changeups that I've frankly ever seen. Has the type of body that make us believe he will continue to project to add velocity, throws a ton of strikes, very good competitor. And then on the position player side of it, a swing that generates a lot of power, and also, a really good defensive catcher as well, and the athleticism to move to the corner. So a player that can add a lot of value. It will be fun with a few of these two-way guys to see, how they end up impacting our team. And we feel like we have a good template of how to do that. Anthony Susak, right-handed pitcher from Jesuit High School up in Sacramento, one of the best pitchers in the country, in my opinion, in this class. Very good fastball, very good off-speed stuff. I think he has strikeout potential, which playing in the Pac-12 is really, really important with the caliber of competition that we see on a daily basis. He's a great competitor, elite worker, in tremendous shape, and somebody that has all the makings of somebody that can impact the program early and be a headliner in terms of leadership, headliner in terms of performance as he moves along in his career here. So we're really excited about Anthony. Luis Tuero from Florida Southwestern College. He was at the University of Miami last year. He was the second leading hitter at Miami, left-handed hitter, high performer no matter where he's been. Remember several years ago, he was the shortstop on the 15 and under national team, played with, Brandon Bossier on that team, who was one of our best players, committed to Miami very early, had some success last year, chose not to go back. And we were fortunate to get involved with Luis in the summertime. And again, a player that I think has the right type of maturity to obviously make a positive impact and look like he's been here for a long time from the time he sets foot on our campus. So that was a big win for us, getting Luis here. Noah Turley, right-handed pitcher, also a corner infielder, outfielder type player, but tremendous physical specimen, tremendous arm strength, pitches with, a lot of intent is how I would say it. And a guy that I think, when you look on and turn on the TV and look at pitchers in the major leagues, just physically, that's what they look like. And very excited for him to get here and to evolve on the mound and at the plate. And again, after, being at Yavapai this year, it's a great program up there with their coaching staff. I think we'll be very well poised to make a significant impact on our team next year. Lastly, Tyler Whitaker from Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas. Certainly last but not least, the first player we had committed in this class, he actually committed to us as an 8th grader. And it's cool to finally have him here, or be on the doorstep of having him here. One of the best players in the country. And it's fun to get a chance to see that and look at Tyler and how he's evolved. Could certainly stand on his own if he was just a pitcher. And early on, maybe that's what I thought he was going to head to. And now he's one of the best players in the country in terms of being a right-handed hitter with power and speed. I legitimately think, probably other than catcher, which we wouldn't need him to do, he could play every single position on the field and play it well. As a 6'5" runner in the 60 and terrific power, bat speed, and we'll only get better in terms of getting here and doing the things that we do with hitters and position players. So like I said, as you kind of talk through those guys, the best part of them is I think they add a lot of value. I think they're all different and will complement, the good younger players in our program that will be here the next couple of years to give us a really good, solid foundation moving forward. And really gratifying day, given all the circumstances, in terms of putting together another really good class that we're excited about.
All right, we're going to begin taking questions for Coach Johnson. Reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. First question will come from Michael Lev, Arizona Daily Star.
Hey there, Jay. Hear me okay?
Yeah, gotcha. Sorry.
Great. Okay. So you mentioned the challenges, the circumstances. How would you just describe this overall recruiting experience in this particular cycle, closing it amid the pandemic?
Yeah, it was definitely something none of us had ever experienced before. I think the positives are you had spent a lot of time on Zoom meetings and phone calls, and probably had an opportunity to get to know players better as opposed to just kind of running around and seeing and evaluating them. I think we got off to such a good start in this class. I mentioned, Tyler was committed to us as an 8th grader. Maddie was committed to us as a freshman. Ethan Gorson committed to us early on in the process. Like, those are real players that we had a really good start and foundation with. So once we got a little further along, kind of assessed maybe who's going to leave after 21, what are we going to need for 22, it allowed us to really look at that and then build the relationships with the guys that we committed this fall. I mentioned, Chris Beau, Luis Tuero, Noah Turley, Reed Shaffer, all those guys come to mind. Of we had time to kind of slow down and assess what did we really need to do to finish it out. And so I think that was the positive. For me, we work hard as a staff, and in the summertime, we're not here a lot. And it's because we're out seeing players and developing relationships and those types of things. And, I personally trust my eyes. I know Coach Lon and Coach Yeski feel the same way. So you had to stay really disciplined and not really just go, okay, this coach says this guy's a guy. Well, he's got to really be a guy, to be a positive impact player here. And so that was probably the biggest challenge is not being able to get out and see games and really formulate your own opinion. I don't think it had a big impact on this particular group. I'm very anxious to see how it affects all programs, maybe over the next couple of years.
When was the last time that you were on the road actually watching a player in person?
Well, the last time I got on a flight was when we were playing at Texas last March. So I don't think between March 1 and whenever we shut down that I went out to see anybody. We were at a very busy part of our schedule at that time. So it would have been last November. So over a year, which is a little bit unsettling when that's what you get used to doing for the last 18 years.
Right. So for the most part, when are the relationships formed with the players that you end up signing? How many years are you working on these guys in general?
It just depends. I think of Tyler Whitaker and the person that called me about him. I mean, it's one of my best friends. He's a really good coach. And so he came out to one of our camps. We started that relationship, when he was like 14 years old. On the flip side, I mentioned Chris Beau, College of Southern Nevada. That was probably, a month and a half before he committed to us. And so it just depends. And I get that question a lot, is like, is there a right time? And the right time is what's right for that player and what's right for our program. And we try to be flexible in terms of not boxing ourselves into anything. I think with this group, because of the pandemic, getting an opportunity to get on the phone with them a lot, really get to know them as people, I'm very comfortable with who they are as people and who they are as players. And I think I have a lot of peace of mind of knowing what we're getting, which you would think that wouldn't be the case given that we didn't get to see them a whole lot. But I think having a good foundation early, the relationship part building that I mentioned, I'm excited to add these guys to the guys that we have. And so it's not a one size fits all approach.
Next question, Rich Herrera, Wildcats Radio 1290.
Coach, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. A couple questions for you. When you get those early commits, and you talk about 8th grade, you talk about freshmen in high school, what's that relationship like, and how does it grow over 3, 4, even 5 years? And how rewarding is it when you finally get them here and they're committed and it's signed, sealed, delivered, and they're coming to Arizona?
I think the reality is time goes really fast. Tyler's dad sent me a picture of him this morning at our camp when he was in 8th grade. And that seems like yesterday, with everything. And that was a long time ago. It was either the fall of 16 or 17. I can't remember at this point in time. But I think in this case, with a few of these guys that I mentioned, we put you would call a challenge in front of them, a task of, hey, this is great, but you have to continue to improve. You want to be an elite player at a program like Arizona. You want to potentially play in the major leagues someday. You have to continue to improve. And what's great about these guys is all of them have done that. And when you look at them physically and you talk to them on the phone and you hear the maturity and kind of their vision for wanting to be a great team player in this program and develop themselves as great players and for their future, very comfortable with it. I think probably one of the things I would say that demonstrates that maturity is a lot of them are academic scholarship players as well as baseball scholarship players, and have really handled their business off the field well. And that's very, like I said, gives you a lot of peace of mind. So very excited to add them because of those qualities.
What's the feedback and the relationship and what are you getting back from parents? Has anything changed since the pandemic hit and they're not able to visit campus and you're not able to see them play?
I think it's disappointing for everybody. I mean, I think about, like, we were in the middle of what I thought was going to be a great team in 2020, and we're starting to really hit our stride. And so when you lose that, like, that's frustrating. I can only imagine what that's like being a player and a high school player where that's your time. And these guys are the best players, on their team and their league and their state. And so I think there's some disappointment in regards to that and some eagerness to really get back on the field. And I've seen this with our own team of just an appreciation for playing baseball, an appreciation for the opportunities that they have. And that's been really fun to be a part of this fall with our own team. And I hear it in these guys' voice when some of them have to fly across the country to Florida to play in a tournament, but that they're out there playing and competing again is a really positive thing. I'd like to get all of them on visits to continue developing them, developing those relationships. So we keep shrinking the learning curve for when they get here. And hopefully at some point we'll get past this where everybody feels like it's safe to do that, to give these guys a positive experience. But I look at it in the sense of that's part of their development and getting them ready to go when they get here.
What's the challenge or maybe the assets you have to sell U of A baseball virtually for someone who's never got a chance to come here, might not know the program? You went to Illinois, you went back to Florida. How are you able to sell this baseball program and tell kids about it virtually?
That's a great question. I think, honestly, it's been a little bit frustrating at times because I think the strength of our organization, I want it to be the people. I would love for recruits to be able to interact with our players on a visit because I think highly of the character and the quality of the players that we have in the program right now. And I think if a recruit comes in and sees that high standard, they're going to be positively impacted by that. I love sitting in meetings with players and their families and really finding out what their vision for what they want their experience to be. And at Arizona, a lot of times we can match what they're looking for with what we have to offer as a program. Visibly, the tradition of the program obviously is great. It's one of those places where you have a chance to go to Omaha, and we were there not that long ago and historically have been there and have had really good players the last couple of years that have been drafted high, which all these guys want that too. So we're doing the best we can to expose those types of things. But I want players to choose us for the right reasons and for substance. And for me, that's because they believe we can make them the best that they can be in all areas of their life. And when you get a chance to sit down and talk about those things and lay out what this thing looks like for them, that's the part that I think we've missed the most and probably the biggest challenge. And like I said, it'll be really interesting to see these next couple years how this time impacts recruiting and what types of teams that all programs end up in. And if you look back to this time, you would say, hey, this program did a really good job of navigating the waters, and it's no different than a tough environment to play in. You got to adapt, improvise, and overcome. And like I said, I'm proud of my staff and in our program. I think we've done a good job with that, but we need to continue to do a good job with that, because if this dead period is going to go on, players are still making commitments to programs, and we want to make sure we're getting the best ones.
Thank you so much.
Our next questions will go back to Michael Lev.
Jay, when I look at this list of players here, I see a lot of versatility, a lot of guys listed as utility. Maybe you're not sure what positions they're going to play. Is that just coincidence, or is that intentional? Are you looking for versatile athletes?
Yeah, I think it speaks to the quality of the player and the athleticism. And, when I look at the guys that we have listed at that, David Shackleford, outfielder, we've put a challenge in front of him. Hey, maybe see if you can play in the infield. And if you are, now you're a fast, power-hitting infielder. That changes maybe the trajectory of where he can go individually post-college if he can do that. In reality, he has the intelligence and athleticism to do those kinds of things. So, that's why he's listed as a utility player. I mentioned, Tyler Whitaker. I mean, I literally think he could play short, third, second, first, center, left, and right if that's what our team needed him to do. And so I think that just speaks to his athleticism. And then, mentioning, Ryan Campos, I think he's a very, very good defensive catcher. We had him at a couple camps, rolled him out at second and third base, and he looked like a true infielder. And so I think that's great. Tommy Splain, kind of fits into the same category, but he's a big physical guy that probably profiles on the corners. But, any way you can create advantages, for your team when you're playing in a conference like the Pac-12 in terms of matching up is a really good thing. And so in that regard, it is intentional. I think having left-handed pitching is important for a lot of reasons. You can usually negate some of the better lineups if you have really good left-handed pitching. It controls the running game, so we want to make sure we're always doing that. And we like guys that can strike guys out with, big stuff, right-handed as well. So I'm really pleased, and it kind of hit me a little bit as we were kind of listing them out and talking about them recently as we were getting them all signed up here, that they will fit what we have in the program extremely well. There's a really good balance, and that gets me very excited.
Is it realistic for a player to be a pitcher and a catcher? And have you ever had anyone who's done both of those things?
Well, what I will tell you is we have actually, Coach Lon had one when he was the coach at USC named Robert Stock. I remember we were playing a game when I was at San Diego, and he caught the whole game. He also threw like 96 miles an hour, peeled the catcher's gear off, and struck the last couple guys out, and we lost 4-3. So I've seen it done before. There's certainly a challenge. I think when you look at Josh and Tommy, the first thing that you'll notice when they walk on campus is those guys have real professional bodies. Like, they're strong. They're like kind of built to last kind of guys. So if anybody can do it, they can do it. And with the two-way thing, I think we have a really good format for how we develop that and how we protect guys in regards to those things. And we're always going to do what's in the best interest of the player. And if we ever shift them off being a two-way player, it's probably because they have a really, really good handle on where they're going to go as a professional, and it's not going to negatively impact our team. But you think back, Bobby Dahlbeck, obviously, one of the best pitchers in the country, and you see what he's doing for the Boston Red Sox now. Alfonso Rivas for a couple years, one of the best hitters in the country and very effective left-handed pitcher for us. We have a way, or a method, if you will, to help them be as successful as they can be. And then we just look at it, and then ultimately we're going to do what's in the best interest of the player.
Right. So Anthony Susak is Daniel Susak's cousin?
Cousin, yes.
Cousin? Okay. Does the fact that they are cousins give you a better chance of getting Anthony on campus, assuming that, Daniel has a positive experience here?
Well, I certainly hope so. And, I mentioned the quality of the kids in this group, and that starts with the families. And for me, I have no interest in signing players that don't have interest in coming to college. I don't want to be a leverage chip in the professional baseball draft. Look around. This is real. This is real big time baseball that can really value or create value for all of these players. And when, you mentioned the Susaks, Anthony's sister is at Stanford right now. He's a great student. He's one of those guys that's an academic scholarship guy. Education is really important to them. And I believe their family and all of these families know, and we'll continue to educate them on why you don't bypass this opportunity. And I say this with great respect for all the players. I think we hit a really good sweet spot in this group of families that really value education. I mean, literally to a guy, almost all of them are on some kind of academic aid. They really value college. They kind of fit in that criteria of guys that, hey, they could sign. There's some of these guys are going to get drafted, but it might be in a spot where being at Arizona really makes sense. And if you go through our recent history of draft picks, where somebody like Austin Wells was drafted out of high school, in the 34th round, and then he comes to Arizona, he's a first round pick. Matt Dyer, undrafted out of high school, high round pick, Cameron Cannon, 22nd round, second round, Nick Quintana, 11th or 12th round, 40 something overall pick. I think we've demonstrated a track record of taking guys and putting them in a much better situation 36 months later. And so that'll be things we go through with these families, but certainly what we feel good about.
We have time for one more question for Coach, and we'll go back to Rich Herrera.
Thanks. Coach, can you talk about the morale and the mindset of your team during fall ball and where you are in the development since the season got cut short and where everybody's been over the last 6 months?
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer a few more about the current team too. So I'll just say that, and Brett might have us on a time thing, but I think it couldn't be better right now. I think two things have really impressed me. Number one is what some of our players did relative to the time off. I mean, that was a scary thing. I mean, I'm one of those guys or coaches that values every day. Like you're building from the previous day and trying to improve on a daily basis, and doing that over a long period of time, you change the player and you ultimately change your team. So I had some real concerns over not being with our players for those 2.5, 3 months that we lost. And then in the summer, some of the summer ball getting cut short, all of those types of things. But two things happened. Most of our players did a really good job with handling their business in quarantine. Guys are stronger. Guys' bodies are in better shape. Some pitchers really took it upon themselves to improve their arm strength, and that's been demonstrated through fall. So that's the first thing. And then secondly is their general attitude on the field on a daily basis. I think you can see the gratitude in just being out there. And I think that's been awesome for our team morale and coming together as a team and as a unit. And I think if we continue that, we're going to max out our potential. And I'm sure there's programs around the country that got to play this fall, but I can't imagine having had a better experience this fall than we've had in regards to those things. And all the credit to that is, like I said, our medical team, our administration, and then our players for handling adversity the right way.
Thanks, Coach. I look forward to having you on the radio this afternoon.
All right, looking forward to it.
All right, we did have one more question come back in. We'll go back to Michael Lev.
Jay, is this the best collection of arms that you've had since you've been at Arizona? I'm talking about the current roster.
Yeah, I'd say volume, yes. I think when you look at arm strength, I mean, there's a lot of pro people at our inter-squad games right now. I mean, I think I counted 28 of the 30 teams last weekend were here in Tucson. And they're obviously attracted to the talent that some of those guys have. I think what's been impressive is the jump. I think we did a good job, getting a couple of those guys through the draft this year. And so I think they're well positioned. With that being said, it hasn't been all, dominated by the pitching. I would actually give the advantage to the offense at this point in time. And there's some maturity. There's maybe a little more game experience on that side of it. But looking at the ability that those guys have and have demonstrated at times, if they continue to improve, we will be in every game that we play. If it's a 56-game schedule in the postseason, we are going to be competitive in every game because of that pitching staff. I think an important part of helping them is continuing to develop our team defensively. And I think we've made some really good strides. I mean, even in the last 2 weeks, I've seen tremendous improvement to support the pitching staff at a high level. So I think if we continue on that track, we're going to be well positioned in every game that we play. But, you know, a couple years ago when we had the dominant offense, the pitchers kind of had the advantage in the fall. So I don't want to make too much of either side. Like, we have a lot of improvement that we have to do on both sides, but I'm really excited about Coach Yeski being able to work with the talent that he has, you know, and we're excited on the position player side of it to work with the talent that we have and then combine it together. So we're really playing high level complementary baseball, you know, where the defense is feeding the pitching setting a good tempo, feeding the offense is giving the pitching a breather, and really do a good job of playing complementary baseball like that. And I'm excited about that group and where I think they're going to be come February, March, April, May, June.
Do you expect Bryce Collins to be part of that group?
He will not pitch this year. Yeah, he will be redshirting again this year. I think he will have at that point, we'll have had a good window to get him back to full health. He's going to remain in our program and certainly want to get Bryce back because he was talented, but he will not this year.
Is George Arias in that same boat?
Yes. George is pitching right now. He pitched
Okay.
last Sunday. He's pitched every week into the fall to this point in time, and appears to be healthy and moving forward.
Okay, last question for you. Do you have any updates on the structure of the 21 season at this point?
As of now, and I feel like you guys hear that a lot probably, and it's frustrating, but I'll give you everything that I have. As of now, we are proceeding to play the schedule that we have. I think, you know, when you look around and you see some cancellations across the country in college football, and I hear bits and pieces of basketball programs, you know, playing in a bubble, you know, whatever that means. I think we've all learned that we have to be flexible, but we've been guided by the Pac-12 right now as plan on going as is. And I think, and I would give our conference and administrators all across the country the thought for the sentiment of, you know, we already lost a season, you know, and in our case, we lost a really good season, in my opinion. So there's a lot of motivation amongst people across the country to make sure baseball season happens in its fullest. And my hope is we have fans. I'm an optimistic guy in that regard, that we're on planes and traveling and, you know, can go to the Frisco Classic and play Oklahoma and, you know, play Texas in a midweek and those types of things. Like, we're hopeful that that's what's going to happen. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised by anything if our schedule got uprooted and had to do something different. But my hope is we're gonna go on February 18th and play a really good team that weekend and go forward from there.
Thank you.
All right. That's all we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Zoom and for everyone on Facebook watching. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.